Okay, we're gonna start a meeting. 7:37, we're close. We have a public hearing for Patricia and William Williams. What were they thinking when they named you William Williams?
Well, I'm not William, but I always wondered that too.
Okay, I'm just checking, okay. It's okay. 465 Amity Road. Application for proposed zoning change to the zoning regulations to combine the allowed percentage of coverages for residences and accessory buildings in residential A district into a total coverage of 15% of the lot instead of 12% and 3% for accessory buildings. So although I did actually ask Chris to do a little research for us, which she sent everybody, I did my own research.
It was from East Hampton.
Yeah. So every town that I've ever worked in has one number for the whole lot. So I don't really understand why we have two.
I think somebody had it out for the Williams.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bizarre. Should
we have them come up?
Sure.
Okay. I'm Pat Williams, and this is Tony Arado. He's the designer that made the plans for the new, where the storage space would go. And,
We both need to sign it first.
okay.
He's first.
Oops. Do you have another pen? Oh. My husband's answer to that question is always, he was so bad they named him twice, just like New York. But
I figured if you knew how to spell his first name, you know how to spell his last name.
oh, that's a good one too. You want to fill that for me?
Sure.
Yeah. There actually are a lot of William Williams out there. Once you have that name, you find out.
Oh.
Okay, we're all signed in.
All right. Well, as I was saying, there's not a whole lot you need to say, actually, to be honest with you, because I think that we should just be doing the 15%. And I'm not really, again, I'm not really sure why it was ever split.
It's split how? I'm sorry.
12 and 3.
Oh,
Most towns it's
12%
two.
for the residents and 3% for
got it.
Right.
Anything
accessory
else?
buildings.
Right, as opposed to just having coverage. I mean, so I couldn't really find anybody that didn't do it, that did it this way. But that goes along with the rest of our regs.
His microphone's not
So
on.
it's rather bizarre. But anyway, so I mean, feel free to jump in. I mean, I don't know if anybody has got any questions. Does everybody get what the question is?
I do now.
So
You want to explain?
if it was a garage or something, that's part of the 3%, right? Or whatever, that's detached from the primary residence.
Well, that's what it is now. But most towns, it's a 15, a certain percentage coverage for the whole piece of property.
Sure. How long has that been that way?
We don't know.
Since 1930s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has this question ever come up before?
No. But when they went to the zoning board of appeals, the one dissenting vote recommended that they come here and have you change your regulations rather than having them make an exception or a variance
Yeah.
to allow it.
So we don't actually know if there's been any variances for it.
Not in the time frame that I've been here. Terry's been here 4 years longer, so.
22 years it hasn't been. And you know what this potentially does is set up a budget. If you have a small house, you can have a larger accessory building, whatever. I mean, I think that 15% is a modest amount of lot coverage in the Residence A district anyway.
Just as a refresher, as I recall, this is because you're looking to storage, extra storage regs.
Extra, yeah, storage for my husband's artwork,
Right.
yeah.
Sorry, I forgot
And that was going to be larger than 3% of the total coverage.
It would have exceeded, the accessory building total coverage would have exceeded 3%.
Because
But
there's
the
already an
house is-
accessory building on the lot.
Exactly. So the house is 3% of the lot coverage. So we thought, well, we're not using nearly as much as we're allowed for the house. Is there some trade-off?
And still, it's well under 15% total.
It is. Actually, did some calculations, and I believe the total of all the buildings, once we're done, would be under 8%.
But having said that, in Fairfield County, they go up to 14.9 when they have 15%. So, yeah, I mean, you can do it. It's, but. Any questions? Anything else?
Has anybody articulated a reason why we shouldn't change?
No, we're gonna be the last one. We are the last holdout, I think, possibly. That's good. Close. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We have a big crowd tonight. This is a big issue in town. First of all, congratulations, Mr. Crisco. You wouldn't by chance be here on pros or cons on this question, would you? Pros or cons on the application? No. All right. Should we take a vote? Is there a motion?
I'll move that we adopt the proposed zoning regulation change
To 15% in the
To 15%
residential A.
in residential A.
All right. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You have an effective date?
Today.
Well, you have an appeal period, but yeah, so let's do it today. and-
Well, I mean, it has to be, you adopted it today, and it has to have an effective date, because I have to file it with the town clerk's office and publish a notice and all that other good stuff, so.
So as soon as possible.
Okay. So you want me,
How many days do you need?
I can do it, I could run a legal on Thursday, so today's Tuesday, yeah. I mean, we could do it by Friday or next Friday, whatever you want.
Whatever works for you.
Okay.
So if she's not moving fast enough, feel free to call her.
We're on very good terms. Okay.
All right, so the only other thing on our agenda tonight is the zoning regulations. And although my goal was to have us vote on it tonight, we've come pretty close. But there's a few more things that we'd like to see adjusted and changed and picked up. So that's what we were talking about, dates. So we'd like to set up a special meeting. So I don't know what everyone's calendar looks like, but we're looking at possibly the 22nd or the 23rd. No.
22nd and 23rd.
A Wednesday and Thursday.
Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh. Third Monday of the month, I have a meeting I have to chair, so.
That's why we're doing it Wednesday or Thursday.
I have commercial that we wrote.
There you go.
commercial for us down here too.
23rd is my preference.
So you should send that out tomorrow.
So I'll just send an email out tomorrow.
I just don't know.
There, I did send you all out an email that when I was going through one of the sections, it looks like we need to add in the description of the conditions regarding use of residential apartments in GBA, because
Yeah.
it was part of the chart
Yeah.
in the existing regs, and we just need to pull it in somewhere. And then the other thing that Terry had noted, And when he mentioned it, we should do that too, as long as we've got a little bit of time to add it in. And that was already written, is the specific LID regs, low impact development regs. We were given language by Clear a couple of years ago, so I can read. Leslie had gotten it, but I think she was just so busy doing so many different things, I don't know that it ended up getting missed. So I'll send that back out.
So while we are currently practicing low-impact development regulations, we're not doing so having a regulation to back us up.
You're not having a regulation what?
To back us up. So projects for some years now have used classical low-impact regulations, features, such as stormwater retention and all that other stuff, zero net increase. And when the CLEAR group from Yukon studied the communities on the West River, they found no such regulations in our zoning regulations, and came here like Kramer from Seinfeld, and found that we were, while doing it, made some very specific recommendations, and it would be perfect timing because they were drafted, and if there's a moment in time before you take an action, it would be a useful tool to have.
I kind of remember talking about this.
We
Yes.
did. They came and talked to us and whatnot, and it wasn't anything that was controversial.
Yeah.
But as I say, I think there was just a lot of stuff that
Okay.
got it.
So-
The other important thing with that is that the town's stormwater management plan requires us to adopt those. So getting it done sooner rather than later makes us better in compliance with that plan.
All right. Okay, I have a couple things. In section 4.
What page does section 4 start at?
I want to say 61.
61.
And I did send you a table that goes before 61 that consolidated into one sheet. So that means,
I don't think I have that. I mean, I probably do.
yeah, I mean,
Okay, so I have a feeling Mary Ann wrote this, but I don't really understand it. The thing about the specific to district GBA, zone GBA, you're gonna fix that for us. But it talks about multiple family dwellings when accessory to a legal non-residential use shall be permitted by special exception in the GB district only in the locations depicted within the red line map GBA and the following conditions. Why are we saying, why aren't we just saying in GBA zone? Instead of redlined in the GB district being called GBA?
this is on page 61.
No, 63. Well, that's what it says on here. Where it says, it's on the right-hand side, that specific to district GBA. I don't understand why we talked about something that happens in GB, which is called GBA. Why don't we just refer to it as zone GBA?
I'm still lost. Can't find you. Oh, the top thing. No, that's not it.
I think that's what he's talking
You what?
about. Yes.
Yeah. So it talks about,
Multiple things.
but why wouldn't it just be called specific to zone GBA.
And where does GB,
And why are we,
That was,
Is this the note you wrote us in that email?
yeah, but now I'm looking at my notes from when you guys went through it, and it said use language from existing table. Did I not add that in? Hang on a second. Special requirement. GB. Oh, no, I did. So forget my comment about GBA, because I did add it in, but we need to delete the red line map stuff.
I don't know why we just don't refer to, well,
Because I took the language exactly
Got it.
from the old thing,
from the motion or something.
from what was in the old regs where we had the red line map.
so it should read, multifamily dwellings when accessory to a legal non-residential use shall be permitted by special exception in the
In the GBA.
GBA,
Right,
and the following conditions.
right. Okay. Everything else is okay.
Right, okay, cool.
It's just that, okay, cool.
I still can't find where that is.
What'd you say?
I still can't find where it is.
Oh,
It's, I found it.
Pagination is off.
Yeah, no,
okay.
it's way off.
The
'cause
other
we had
thing was
over blank
all
sheets.
changing all the district back to zones.
Yeah,
The
for
bottom
the
of
last
63.
thing I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, actually, if it helps, the next thing I'm going to talk about is, also says page 63.
I don't know if my 63 is the same.
It's on signs.
Oh, that's later.
Yeah, right. The elementary signs permitted.
Oh, Emilianos.
Yeah, okay. So, I find a little annoying. So, we talk about the elementary signs shall be registered with the zoning enforcement officer prior to their erection on the form prescribed by the ZEO, blah, 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 blah. I think that we can just leave it where we had the top where you're allowed to put these signs up for an event, a community event. You can keep them up for 2 weeks, and end of discussion. I don't see why somebody has to come in here and show it to anybody. It's just a community sign with a community event. It doesn't really make any sense to me.
Where's that one?
Well, I'm gonna
It's
say page
J.
63, but it's not.
It's towards the end. It's, should be like the second to last page maybe of what you've got.
You're talking about this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these signs are up for community, for a community
Is it a signage
event.
section?
Yeah,
It's up for a community event. I don't see why somebody has to approve a community. First of all, I bet nobody does it anyway.
no,
But-
they do. They actually do.
Okay, but I
And
don't see,
it's-
but I don't see why they have to.
They do, and the only reason I offer that people do it is because it does tell them that there is a time frame, and it makes them understand that they need to run around and pick them up
Yes.
so that they're not out there.
Again, I
For a
think we
long
can
time
just,
after.
I don't think we should be looking at people's signs. I think it's a community event. I think it should just say that you put these signs up for 2 weeks and take them down. And if they're up after 2 weeks, the zoning enforcement officer or somebody can call them and say, you need to take your signs down.
So you want to delete 2?
No, 3.
No, 2.
It would be
Yeah,
2 in the.
I had changed
Name
it.
2 and 3. Well, what's 3?
Let me look.
2. There's no 3. I don't have
Yeah, no,
I don't have a 3. I only have a 1 and a 2.
Okay, yeah, no, I've got a 1 and a 2.
I mean, these are the kind of events that.
Well, there was a 3. We renumbered it to 1, 2, and 3.
right.
You have a 3 on you?
Yeah, because I had, no, this should have been 1, this should be 2, this should be 3.
So the
So, but the one
eleemosynary-
I'm looking at
so
only has 1 and 2.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
So
gotta
1 is
turn-
good.
This is 1, this is 2, and then we get rid of 3.
right.
Well, according to me, I get rid of 2.
Yeah,
That's
but
okay.
it's okay.
She-
We're
she's
getting rid of the red thing.
Okay, fine,
It's this stuff.
fine. Okay,
Do
cool.
those include political signs as well?
We don't touch political signs.
We don't go down that road.
They can,
Well, it
right.
depends what sign you want to put on your front lawn, but other than that, you say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know, I found specific to GPA.
Okay, next. Wait, another sheet here. Okay. In the section 3.
Three what?
Well, mine says page 44.
Okay.
But it's F. So I see the job of Planning and Zoning Commission as doing what's best and aesthetically acceptable for keeping the character of the town and not overwhelming thing. I see zoning regulations as a device to encourage certain kinds of development and discourage other kinds of development. So F talks about signs, and then it talks about gas station signs can get bigger because they want to post the cost of gas. And I don't really care about gas station signs.
In mine, I got a red line that crossed out the entire subsection F.
Yeah?
Yeah. It no
Well,
longer exists.
Well, not according to mom.
What
So
page
we're
are you on?
under gas
Gonna
station
consult.
service
You're on
and
40,
repair.
you're on page 45?
44.
44.
Yeah, that's.
It's gone.
It says freestanding signs for gas station comply, section 4.5, however, the
It's
total
I.
surface. What'd you say?
It's I, yeah. Freestanding signs for gas stations shall comply with section 4.5, however, the total
And then may
surface
be
area.
increased by 1 square foot
Foot.
for posting each fuel price, provided that the total surface area does not exceed 36 square feet, and the posting
Oh.
price. So I'm just saying that,
Well, go back. It's what?
We took it out of, it used to be under, motor, the, there was gas stations, and then we broke it apart into sales, service, and repair of vehicles.
I had the one that said chickens but not roosters.
This is what was sent to me.
That's
No, wait,
Oh.
you're looking at F.
Yes.
This is a small
I found it, but I'm still.
Oh,
we're
that's
comparing
sales,
against the male of
rental,
the species.
and service or repair of vehicles. That's different from the gas stations.
What section, what,
here,
In the gas station one, it's,
so this falls in the category as I don't really care about encouraging gas stations coming into town. And if they decide not to come here because they can't have the sign that someone has next door, they can always go the other way.
yeah, see, it's up here under gas stations. But it's not under sales, rental, service, and repair of vehicles, so so Jeff is saying to also take it out of gas stations.
There are plenty of towns that only allow the name of the gas station, period. So it would be okay for us to do that too, although I'm not suggesting that yet. And there are towns who don't let you put signs up at all for gas stations.
so you want us to add
Cheshire, for
He
example.
wants us to
they'll say it'd
delete
be like 5 feet tall or 4
under
feet
gas
tall.
stations.
freestanding signs for these
Okay.
businesses shall comply with section 4.5?
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm just deleting it right
I think that,
now. E is now sanitary sewers. How's that?
all right. Okay, in the,
While we're on E, while we're on 3, can I raise an issue?
yeah,
We have this whole thing with animals,
yeah,
and that animals, if I remember correctly, under 3.1 aren't allowed.
what kind of animals aren't allowed?
It just, if I remember correctly,
At the beginning of 3.
animals,
Agriculture, animal daycare, whatever.
yeah. Well, we make specific reference to hens, but no roosters.
Yeah, okay, I got that. Keeping of chickens allowed by right, except roosters.
Do we have to mention any other, didn't we talk about horses at one time, stables?
Yeah, it's on here.
It says stable.
Says stable, as of right.
Yeah, but didn't we talk about in terms of limiting the number, how many animals per acre or things like that?
We did, but we didn't, we decided not to specify, and we decided to defer the person who owns the property.
Well, it's really, issue becomes what happens if, about the other, his or her neighbors. There's also the issue, do we have to specify anything else in terms of other types of animals, since we specifically specify hens are allowed, but not roosters?
It's so prejudicial.
Because you, on top of that,
Right.
3.3.
3.3B.
On the table, it says keeping of chickens. So, I mean, you have a lot of people that in town, not a lot, but you have some people in town that
Quite a
have
few.
alpacas or llamas or
Right.
sheep.
It says, as a matter of fact, on here, keeping of animals other than hens, and it's not permitted in any district.
Right. Hens, right, no
Other
roosters.
than hens.
No,
Under
Right.
F, it says keeping of chickens, the keeping of roosters is prohibited. It's
Right.
actually in
Look
the-
right above F.
I saw.
it
yeah.
says keeping of animals other than, oh, right, I see what you're saying.
And there's nothing there, so therefore it's not permitted any place. Therefore, horses aren't permitted.
No, we have we list stable specifically.
Therefore, the llamas and the person who has the llamas and that stuff, that's not permitted.
Is a stable always only for horses?
Well,
Well, a stable might be something totally different. A stable might be something where you're boarding other people's horses versus,
but horses are horses.
Of course.
You are quick.
In other words, do we have to
Okay,
expand that?
Yeah, so let's expand it, because one of the reasons was to let people have horses, or a horse or something. And I think the thing what we saw the most on the search was like a horse per acre thing.
I don't care about limiting
Well-
the issue, but I know specifically right near me, there's someone who keeps llamas. And under this, they would not be able to keep it.
Well, I don't know why you say that, but
Because it says keeping of
blank.
animals
It's blank everywhere.
It's
And,
blank.
and,
Yeah,
it, and we define blank as meaning not permitted,
permitted.
right?
And is it a real problem presently if those llamas present problems in the neighborhood?
No, I'm just saying the way it is now.
Because we don't have a lot of complaints about other animals except roosters.
right.
Except the regs say if it's blank, then it's not allowed.
That's
why
right.
And that's the
That's
point.
correct.
So we need to put
So you have to
something,
put something in
we
there.
gotta
Right.
put something
I
there.
agree, because someone else could move in and be upset about the llamas.
So, but then we also list stable, but we're not saying what the stable is.
But we
It
say
just
it's
says-
allowed by right.
Yeah, so I'm saying it's
So we need to do that for,
to keep animals. Okay.
so where do we put allowed by right for other animals?
above keeping of chickens.
Right.
Other than
Right.
hens.
So do you want
But-
to just use your residential districts?
Yeah, but then what about, well, not everything is, you can't have these animals on all these districts. That would be interesting.
So, under stable, do you want to put in parentheses for housing horses? I mean, or do you want to say animals?
Do we define stable in our definitions?
Probably not.
No, we don't have anything about stables.
We don't.
This thing got dropped.
We could put it just before stoop. So we should add it to
Well,
our
actually, it
definition?
should be in the definitions, because that's
Right.
actually where you're gonna spell it out, that says as one
Right.
animal per acre.
Right, so that's section 2.
And I think the thing about keeping of,
Did you send back section 2, Chris, with the changes accepted?
Yeah, I did.
So that means nobody can have dogs or cats.
That's,
right.
I mean, that technically is correct in that I thought also,
Yeah,
but I mean,
I know.
that becomes ridiculous.
Of course.
Section
But technically, that's correct.
section 2. I don't know if I can't
Talking
find
about getting
section 2 that you
springs
sent
up.
back.
Really? You were allowed back in the house? You could just blame it on me or something, I'm sure. Or she will anyway.
Minutes.
But then as long as we're clarifying this, then we should be looking at this thing where it says residential kennel. I did circle this thing, I don't understand it. We have residential kennel down here, then we said residential of no more than 10 animals. So I'm kind of a little concerned about that, because if we're saying 10 horses,
Well, the kennel thing is because the statute only lets people license up to 10 dogs over the age of 6 months with a residential kennel license.
so that's where that 10 comes from.
That's where the 10 comes from.
So
like,
is there a way to
if some-
clarify that, or we shouldn't worry about it?
I don't think you have to worry about it because it's a specific license that the state issues.
So a residential kennel is X, and a residential kennel requires a state license.
Yeah,
You can't call yourself a residential kennel unless you have a state license.
you have to have a state
Okay,
license.
there you go. Okay, I get it.
So, stable, we're adding,
Yeah.
and how do we define it?
Do you want me to get some samples and
Yeah,
send them
but
to
like
you?
a boarding
Place
for
where horses
for horses. Like cows.
have to very stable, I think it's gotta be horses sleeping.
How about llamas?
Llamas.
They go in a
How
barn.
about
That
four-legged
would be a
critters?
llama pen. Stable, horses sleep, it's got a roof, some hay.
So do you really want to get into listing species of animals?
Well, right now, people can't technically have horse in this town. Because
Or
we don't
dogs or
mention.
cats or rabbits or llamas or alpacas. Potbelly pigs.
I already told this at the last meeting, you weren't here, but I am doing a barn for somebody in New Canaan for pigs, goats, and sheep, specifically.
See, that would be a barn, not a stable.
We do call it a barn. Thank you.
We do have a resident with a first floor, very large accommodations for a pet pig.
I see the pig out in the front lawn all the time. I always stop and say hi.
To the pig?
Yeah.
It's two pigs, isn't
I only saw one. And there's two.
Stable
one's
definition,
named
a building
They
in
watch
which
TV
domestic
with it.
animals
Named
are
Bacon.
sheltered and
They
fed.
watch TV with it.
Can we just put that?
Sure.
Okay.
But then we should also put, but I do think, I do think we should, if we want to put a limit on how many horses go on a piece of property, we should put down 1 acre per large animal. I don't know.
Do we want to get into that?
Well, part of me doesn't want to, but you just said you were concerned about the neighbors.
Do
That's-
we run into problems with Connecticut's definition of farming
Well,
when we limit animals? Connecticut has a very broad definition of farms. And
But these
what
aren't
is
farms,
farming.
these are for someone's house, like in a
Well, but it's
residential
5
zone.
acres, it could be a farm.
But if we, well, I guess that could be a special exception, but our A zone isn't 5 acres, and our B zone isn't 5, we don't have any zone that's 5 acres that we're talking about doing this in.
No, but I know that there's the assessor, for example, has properties that are more than 5 acres. It's a permit process with the assessor,
Yeah, I
more than
understand.
5 acres, farms, mostly located in the Residence A district. And I, every once in a while, somebody pops up and wants to talk about raising cattle.
Okay, but let's go to what we're trying to accomplish is allowing people to have a horse
Okay,
on their property. So
okay.
think of it in those terms.
So do you want me to give a stable in which domestic animals such as horses, llamas? Horses and llamas? are sheltered and fed. Is that enough? And then if people wanna come.
I don't know if
and
we
they
have to,
can-
I don't know, I think we could just say
I wouldn't
horses.
mention anything specifically.
Well, if you-
Domesticated animals.
Except in the table it says, other than hens. Oh, keeping of animals is other than hens.
But we don't list any place you can do it.
Right, so that's the other question. I added the definition. You guys figure out which districts it can go in. Allowed by right, residential districts, is that what you're saying?
Well, a stable is allowed, if we're defining stable, they're allowed in A, B, and T2.
Two.
Stable. Oh yeah, sorry. I was thinking about
Right.
keeping of animals other than hens. Where do we put that?
Listen, I don't really care if we get specific on the animals. I just want to cover it, so if somebody decides they want a horse, they can do it. And we don't have to say to them, no, you can't.
A, B,
So we have to do A and B and T2 because that's where we allow stables.
Right.
and why can't we, why
Right.
are we allowing chickens and everything in so many different ones?
I saw that too.
Do you really want to recreate those discussions about chickens, Alan?
Well, they're little.
They're little, they can fit in a backyard.
So I feel like we should be taking out the line that says keeping of animals other than hens. Just take it out. Because I don't really get what it's in there for.
Right, otherwise, to your point earlier, it suggests that people can't have cats and dogs and bunnies and pigs and other animals that people keep as pets. Frogs.
Well, that's
Okay.
in a house, so you wouldn't be out in the yard.
I
That
would
would be
take
in a
out
house.
keeping of animals, totally.
I'd like to ban
But,
snakes. Can we
but
do
wait a
that?
second, if it's not in here, doesn't that mean, hold on
You
a second.
can't, and stable is just letting you have bigger animals.
Just, we're going down a rabbit hole, folks. Just saying.
Do you want me to check around real quick and get back to you, and then you can?
Okay. We'll wait for that.
Okay, I'll do it as fast as I can.
Okay, we
I
dealt
won't
with
say like a
the
bunny.
gas station signs. Oh, yeah. Okay, so
Maybe you should stop proofing.
I told you I was just looking at content. I told you I wasn't doing the part you were doing. I was just doing content, and I agree with you. And you just start reading, you just it starts to get a little minutia here. I agree. I hear you.
Too
Okay.
much about what you're reading.
I know. Okay, on page 55, and
If you're page 55.
yeah, 3.0.
What is it about?
Yeah, I know. Outdoors. It says no outdoor storage shall be located within the front yard setback.
I haven't read that part yet, but that's,
So this talks
No,
about boats and
it's
boat
A.
trailers, refrigerators, which I find interesting is in the same line as boats and boat trailers, in case you want to keep your refrigerator outside.
so it's the top of the right
Apparently never
column
go
on
up
page
north.
54.
What'd you say?
You don't go up north, apparently.
Well, I do. They have couches on their front porch. I get it,
And
but
usually there's a
but this is
refrigerator.
Woodbridge.
Yeah, well, I know that.
It sounds like a blight call to
They
me.
generally don't work, but they would be there.
They don't work in the winter. Okay, so what my concern is that it says no outdoor storage can be located within the front yard setback. Okay, that's a good thing. Except that in instances of existing buildings where the such front yard requirement may be reduced to the existing building line. So is that telling me that if,
Like your house is closer to the road than it's supposed to be.
yes,
So you could have outside storage from the front of your house back, under that,
from the front of the house back, not in front of the house?
not in front of the house.
You think, okay,
Because your front of your house is closer than what we would tell you normally to have.
right. Okay,
Make
well,
sense?
well, if that's what it says, yes, it makes sense.
I mean, that's the way
I'll buy that.
I read it, but. I can find it again.
I just don't want any outdoor storage in the front.
Yeah.
So it's a new section.
No, it's actually not, but we've added in this thing except.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what became the new part when I was like,
Okay.
I mean, so in other words, I don't know why we have that. Because what we had before was, no outdoor storage shall be located within the front yard setback. Okay, that's all I want to know about. and then we say except in, so why is that in here?
Yeah, that's redundant, isn't it?
So,
We don't know.
Because if.
okay, so we should take that out.
There's no need
Because
for
we
that.
just don't want any storage in the front yard, so we're not, okay. Okay. Do you know where we are, Chris?
No, but that's okay.
55.
Yeah, I know, but your 55s are different.
It's my 54, the one that you sent.
The purple
54,
part.
upper right.
Mine's upper left.
Yeah, you know what happened? I'm missing 55, so that's okay.
So
So
there's-
page
Some
55,
of our neighborhoods are more sensitive to certain things than others. There's one neighborhood where if a boat on a trailer turns down the street, we have a call in our office within 15 minutes. It may be on its way to a
Lake.
or to a storage, a lawful storage facility at the residence, not in the front yard.
All right.
But we get that call. There are other neighborhoods that have the travel trailer itch.
Where do we define front yard setback?
well, we're not,
We have a front yard setback discussion.
Is it this right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's that right.
You don't think it's that one?
That was one of the new ones.
Well, there's other graphics, but that's part of it.
Why did we even add this in?
Okay, I'm reading.
Okay.
I'm reading.
To see if we're paying attention.
I don't know why it's in there either. Okay, cool.
So we're deleting except that.
Right.
And then on.
Yeah, okay. So, then in.
Yes, we're deleting that?
Yes. No storage in the front yard. And no one's come up with a better way to do it, so. Okay, so this is gonna, these are gonna maybe be a little bone of contention with the zoning enforcement officer, but, sorry. But I did look at other towns, and other towns do it differently. So, when people come here and we give them a site plan approval, we do a site plan approval, we ask them to do certain things, blah, 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 blah. They can then leave, and they can ask Terry, and Terry can waive what they may not want to do. Okay?
no,
No.
no,
Yeah,
that's
well,
not,
well, if you read your thing, that's what it says.
No.
Yeah, and by the way, there are site plan approvals that we've done around town that haven't been per what the commission passed.
no. The way it's worked is that, say somebody comes in and they want to do a very small addition, a garage or something, they don't have to, he waives that litany of things that they're supposed to show
Oh, no,
on the
okay,
site
so
plan.
I'm not being specific, I'm not being that clear, I'm sorry. It actually talks about if the person wants to have, if it wants to change the site plan that's been approved. So,
Where are you, Jeff?
Where are you?
da, 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 da.
What page?
I'm getting there.
Oh.
Page 110. Any changes proposed by an applicant to an approved site plan shall be submitted to the Planning and Zoning Office for review and approval by the staff or by the commission as required. And I'm saying that, and this is what other towns do, if a site plan's been approved, if the commission has gone through the trouble of passing a site plan approval, then if somebody wants to change it, they need to come back.
I concur, and that's new language that's being proposed, that's not present language.
Oh, there you go. See, it's a good thing I read
So
that.
you're in section 6, I'm going to guess.
And what's?
I thought it was bizarre, actually, why
What's it
bother coming to
listed
us?
Because I'm looking at,
Page 110
well,
in section 6.
That was one of many sections
Oh.
that used to have a planner attached to it.
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
Wait a minute.
But I mean, it's like, why go through the trouble of having us sit down and do a site plan review if somebody can change it in the office?
What we do have to leave intact is the survey requirements,
Yeah, I agree.
because not everything needs an A2 survey. not every improvement.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree with that, although I will tell you, most towns now do. I'm just telling you, and I think it's more just to cover their butt, so you might want to look at it from that point of view. I mean, at another time, I don't really care, but I know that's why other towns do it. That's
So-
it.
So the other day.
And by the way, if it's more than, because after all, the earth moves, and if it's more than 10 years old, they want a new one.
So when they, the other day, there was a deck where it was a 25-foot side yard requirement, and the guy had 65 feet. And as proven by several different documents, we waived the requirement of a survey because it seemed to me that you know, it was chasing a tail that didn't have to be chased.
So I don't completely disagree with that. That's an extreme situation, but I'm just telling you that 90% of the towns I have to work in, A2. I actually think it was all set up by the surveyors, to be honest with you. But that's what they do. And I think a lot of it has to do with on neighbor issues. We've got an A2, this is it, and it's been approved.
So this is section 6.5, zoning permit?
This is
6.0 and it's O.
It's 6.3.1.14.
6.3.1.14.
Yeah, .1.14, site plan objectives. Oh, so what are we,
Well, I'm talking about O, which is conformance to approved plans.
right, so site plan development shall proceed in accordance with the plans approved by the commission. Any changes proposed by the applicant
Should
to the
return to the
approved shall
planning
be
and zoning
submitted to the commission, right?
Right.
I don't have an O. Can I see yours?
Yeah, I'm on my page
You get
one.
it, kid, son.
I know, but we
To the
changed the
commission.
order on some of these. I think this is 6.4 now.
And it is.
Hmm?
It's
It is.
6.3.1.
No,
Well,
we
that was
changed
the
it
old 6.
Because I added a definition section, right? Is this the one where I added a definition section?
I think so.
Site plans and standards, this is the one,
I
right?
thought it was the chair. You think I had
B.
the most recent one.
Yeah. Let me look.
C.
Completely different one than
D, E,
Yeah, but I think it's in there someplace.
G, H,
I'll
no?
find it.
6.5,
Oh, it's
zoning
on
permit.
continuance, 106.
The reason why I never set up a separate one
Period.
for the commission is
Time
because
period of expiration, amendments
Conformance.
and
Let me look for
modifications,
conformance.
suspension. Conformance with, it's E, under 6.3.
E, on page 105.
Yeah, under 6.3.
Conformance with approved plans.
Yep.
Okay, so site development shall proceed in accordance with plans approved by the petition.
Now-
Any changes proposed by
an
the
applicant
applicant?
shall be approved, to
Special,
and approve, shall be submitted to the commission for
Okay.
review and approval.
Okay, so now, there is another,
wait a minute. Any changes proposed by an applicant to an approved special exception shall be submitted to the plan and zoning office. No, shall be submitted to the
Commission
commission.
for review and approval.
Shall
As
be
required.
submitted to
this is the one you were talking about, I think,
the
Terry.
commission for review and approval as required.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to say as required, it just says for
I
review
think
and
just for review
approval.
and approval, I don't think we need.
Yeah, because any changes proposed by an
If
applicant
there's a
to an
change, you
approved.
have to go back to the commission.
So it's not just a special exception, it's any changes.
Right,
It's
exactly.
any changes
Right,
proposed by an
right.
applicant
That was the next thing I was gonna tell you. Yes, that's correct.
shall be
Right.
submitted to the planning and zoning.
So it's
Commission
any
for
changes
re-
proposed by an applicant, I delete to an approved special exception.
Yeah,
Got it.
and then the rest of it, it's fine, because it says any change.
Is the wording in there any approved site plan, any
It
site
says,
plan that's been approved
"Site
by-
development shall
by the
proceed in ac-
commission?
It says, site, under E, conformance with approved plans. Site development shall proceed in accordance with plans approved by the commission. Any changes proposed by an applicant shall be submitted to the commission for review and approval as required. Any changes made prior to such review and approval shall constitute a violation
Right.
of these regulations. All site work shall be completed no later than 5 years from the date of approval of the original plan.
Okay, so,
Is that all right?
yes. Well, I'm gonna read it again, but, yes, but, so this is the one you were talking about, title block in the lower right-hand corner, name of the current owner, and then it says the zoning enforcement officer shall have the authority to waive any of the above requirements. Okay. You might wanna, I'm not gonna change it, but you should rethink it, because I do think it's just for covering everyone's butt. But, So the other thing I just want to point out in here, because we've had this discussion, and I have to confess I didn't get a satisfactory answer, but I'm just going to read our regs. Where I kind of asked about getting a certificate of compliance on these site plan reviews, and you kind of said, no, we don't do that kind of thing, but it's in our regs. So,
Never done one in 22 years.
yeah, I know, so somebody needs to fix that, because we
Yeah.
have site plans out there that we've passed that don't look like what we approved.
You know,
I don't want to get into names just for the sake of TV, but
it might be a time to have, we presently don't have a site plan review process in our present regulations. I know it's astonishing, but you like to talk about our present zoning regulations and its shortcomings. But there are many.
you're just adding to them.
Pardon
You're
me?
just adding to them.
Well, it's just
Yeah, I
the
get
fact
it.
of the matter.
We
I
have
get
this
it.
whole
I
long
get it.
section that's on site plan requirements and what.
Right.
In the new regs.
In the
Right.
new regs.
Yes.
We have them here. We're going to have some. We support that. But we presently, there are many communities that get zoning approval and then have to go to a site plan approval.
Well,
In
actually,
many communities, that it's that way presently.
yes, no, that's true.
Oh.
Because what they do is they want you to take I've been to those towns. They want you to go and meet with the zoning enforcement officer or the zoning department and say, this is what I want to do, can I do this? And they have to say, yes, you can. But then it goes through other parts in town, then it ends up in the building department, they get a building permit. At the end, in order to get a CO, it has to get signed off by the zoning enforcement officer or the zoning department again to make sure that what they said they could do, they actually did. And we don't have something like that.
And
I get
my,
that there's no-
we don't, and I can confirm that, even though, it de facto, because the building inspector is the zoning enforcement officer,
I get it.
conveniently,
Yeah, I get it.
it kind of works out. But, more critically, we presently don't have a site plan review process. So that a lot of people get their zoning and then have to go to that second site plan approval where the real details and the texture, the color, and the approvals are really the meat and potatoes of the project
Right.
get discussed. We don't have that process. At all. We never have. It's not in our regulations at this time. So I believe that we will have it with this. We welcome it. I think that it's an opportunity to improve the conversation about materials, about texture, about rhythm of all of our exterior of our buildings.
Okay, getting back to this real quick, there's two places that we need to change it, because in 6.3, it's under special exceptions, so we need to leave the verbiage about to an approved special exception. And then there's another place,
Why are you leaving that?
because it's under the section that says special exceptions.
So, but if you,
But then there's another place.
but we do call people back. If somebody wants to change the special exceptions, he's pulled people in here to,
Yeah, I know,
Oh.
but the verbiage under special exceptions
also says
has,
it can be waived.
no, it says it could be reviewed by staff. And so we want that to come back to you.
Right.
But there's a second place where it also says that site plans approved by the commission could go, and it's just site plans, it's not special exceptions. That's a little bit further in here.
That's O.
Well, it's now F, it's on page 110, it's F. So I'm changing that
Both of them.
to mirror coming back to the commission.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's on our, the new one,
That's a
page
vestige-
110.
That's a vestige of when there was gonna be a planner and a
Got it.
planning department, and
We don't have that.
we,
I've
It's
tried.
F
Without
on
prospects.
page 110, above
I don't think so.
suspension.
All right.
On 110.
Okay, so I think
On 110 you sent the other day, right?
Yep,
Yes, conformance to approved plans?
yep.
Yep,
And what does it say?
It includes that verbiage about submitting to the plan and zoning office for review and approval by
It's the same
staff.
language.
So
Or
I'm
by
just
the commission.
omitting that staff stuff and just saying
By the commission.
submitted to the commission for
Review.
review and
Same thing, shall
approval.
be submitted to the commission for, what was the
Review
word
and
again?
approval as required. Just the same language we use under special exceptions.
Yeah, I just,
So we catch it in both places.
yeah, no, and I have it marked over here and I couldn't find it in the new one, so I
Yeah,
get it.
no, I just found it. so-
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
One more thing. I don't know how you feel about it. It's something that I get some criticism about. We don't have a scoping provision in our business district for when we require a sidewalk.
For when we require what?
Sidewalk. And this
None
first
from
came
Crest.
This first came up when the predecessor to Key Bank changed its location, and we saw a site plan. Staff saw a site plan, and we said, "Where's the sidewalk?" And the guy said, "Oh, you want a sidewalk? Pencil it in the sidewalk. We got a sidewalk." We've continued to do that.
Yeah, I know.
And there are, we've recently been criticized, they do it, but what is our, I don't believe that we have any standing to do so. We could do that in the conversation, in a site plan approval process here.
Well, we want technically everything down there should have sidewalks on both sides of the street.
But when we just gave the approval for the redo at the Crest, right? There's no sidewalk in front of the area, there's no sidewalk on Amity Road there.
No, I don't know.
And they don't have one in, I didn't,
I just bring this to your attention because we have this moment to consider, what, it's a luxurious moment, and do you want in your zoning regulations, a scoping provision for when there's a sidewalk or not? Or is that something that you want to keep in mind on a site plan approval basis, site plan by site plan?
No, because as you pointed out, and I'm always amazed sometimes when we ask for things and people say yes, I think they think we're gonna say no to them or something, but we really don't have standing on it. So I always kind of question that, but,
We've gotten a lot of sidewalks just by
yeah,
guess or
I
by
know.
golly.
But
And-
still, I think it's a good idea. So, this would be a good time to take out the map. We can decide what zone we want to, what zones if we want sidewalks. I have enough here. One for you, one. Oh, so this is, that takes the place of that one. Because there were a couple of things.
Revised map.
There were a couple of things missing. There were things that weren't labeled correctly on there. One, two, three, four. There's one extra there. Chris, you got the big one.
And will that be available with GIS, via GIS, so we can incorporate in our mapping?
I think so, but
They're new?
Malone McBroom has the, if you want them to do it, I believe she did put it on. I think when we get the bill, we'll see it. But I did tell her yes,
Okay, good.
so,
It's useful to have that.
yeah. So I did tell her yes.
Well, there is a zoning layer on Betsy's current GIS program, so we'll just,
Yeah, but she doesn't,
Grab.
but she doesn't.
yeah, no, but we'll change,
Yeah, right.
update.
But no, I had them, they did that, exactly.
I mean, they probably did it in GIS, yeah.
I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Okay. So that's the map that we're gonna be voting on.
Okay, cool.
When we vote. Acceptance. So. Where was the piece of property that they just got a variance for putting solar panels on?
Park Lane, 57, Park Lane.
What is it?
It's on Park Lane, so
It's above Stop, it'd be above Stop and Shop.
It's up on the hill.
So it's like between Park Lane and Crum Elbow, that piece?
Well,
it's,
it's further,
yep,
it's further
it's
up
on Park Lane. You see where the town property is shown by the hatch
Yeah,
mark?
yeah, yeah.
It's that piece directly above it,
Oh, above it?
above it.
Oh,
That zigzag kind of piece.
largely ledge road.
right where the GB is.
No,
Oh,
the bigger piece below it that's the hatched green, the yellow that's directly, the lot that's directly above it, that's the piece.
okay. So sidewalks, I would say they need to be in B1 and GBA. I kind of want to say GB too, but
Oh, I would think GB.
which one?
Well, you especially want it for that little piece that goes from New Haven up to June Street.
Little piece that, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Well, but it should be in GBA, GB, B1, and to be honest with you, it should be in Dev 1. That's where,
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be,
and actually, I think there's some sidewalks there already.
Why
There-
not then?
Yes,
there are along Bradley Road in front of 245 Amity. And then they were supposed to get put in along the other two sides.
Why does Dev 1 also say T3BB?
Because those two little.
Oh, the two little,
pieces-
got it, yeah,
Right.
sorry, I missed it.
The orange.
Right.
Yeah, I missed them, yeah.
Holdouts.
What is in that triangular piece of B1 that is to the southeast of the parkway?
The salt shed for the DOT
Is that the
and
only?
the
And-
swimming pool for the motel that's over
about
there.
1/2 of the swimming pool in the motel itself. And the swimming pool is closed because it lacks a
Filter?
Virginia Graham Baker Act.
The
Compliant.
suction in the bottom
So
of the pool.
so no one gets sucked out.
Right.
I never realized that that was Woodbridge to the right of the parkway there until I saw this map.
We've long advocated that that would be a place for any X-rated businesses, because who would care?
Three Judges Motel is there?
No, that's across the street.
That's down the street a
Yeah.
bit.
This is the New Haven Motor.
Yes, the other
used to be
motel.
New
There's
Haven
2
Motor.
motels there.
That's where
There's
they
actually
push
3.
people whenever they get displaced. They put them in this too.
So,
There's a third up the hill. This is the
Yeah.
third one up the hill,
Yeah.
right.
okay, so does anybody have any, so I'm saying I'm thinking GBA, B1, GB, and Dev 1.
Why not Dev 2?
Some of that's,
Well, it's kind of more industrial over there. I don't know. There's certainly plenty of room for sidewalks, aren't there?
so when would
There
you
are, I don't think there
require-
is a one there now.
Yes, I agree, I understand that, but I'm just saying there's plenty of room.
So
Right.
when would you require the sidewalks be installed? When any application comes forward and they have to add it?
Right.
Yeah,
It's their opportunity to crest.
we did. I still actually like that project.
There still is some town projects, sidewalk town projects.
Right.
We have high ambitions, for example, to be able to connect Amity with our library. We think that the kids, there's a lot of walking between here and the town center and Amity, and we think that the children are
Yeah.
safer behind a curb and on the sidewalk.
Hmm.
And they don't have to be cement sidewalks either. Just saying.
No, they can be yellow brick roads. I mean,
It could be stone dust. Right. Okay. Because there should be sidewalks all around here. I mean, that's like a duh. Okay, so, I mean, so Andrew brought up Dev 2. I don't know, what's your thought on Dev 2?
I'm concerned about Dev 2 only because it's there isn't any, we have some walkers in Dev 2, by the way.
You have lots of walkers during lunch
Yep,
down there.
yep. The, however, there's only one residence in the whole place. There are no other conveniences, such as a deli.
No, but, so, I agree with all that, but having said that, that is one of the places where we kind of got screamed at for suggesting, oh my God, that we would maybe put some housing down there. 'Cause
No, man.
you never know if bad stuff could happen, I don't know what happened. But- So, I suppose if it gets rezoned for something else, then
That would be the
that
time.
would be the time you would say we want sidewalks in there.
And what we don't want to do is create an expectation of a destination on one side of the street and not have a place to go to. It kind of is a confusing thing. We have several of those instances. For example, right at Crest, by the way, we have a cross light, we have a push button, and we get you to across Amity Road to Crest, but there's no place to go.
Right.
You're just there till you go back.
Yeah, right. All right. So, we need to put that in someplace. Where are we putting that in? Who do you think owns those right there? So, that should be in, section 6? Yeah?
Under site plan approval and special exception approval?
It should go in the section under site plan objectives, right? I mean, drainage, soil erosion and sediment control, landscaping and screening, lighting.
Right,
Can we put it in there?
yeah.
Sure.
And so once you raise the specter of sidewalks, is there any other streetscape things by zone that you'd like to encourage or allow that to be incentivized in the site plan approval process?
You mean like lighting and benches and that kind of thing?
We have lighting in this.
Accoutrements.
Well, I mean,
We have a requirement
I don't-
for parking and for bicycle racks at some point.
Okay,
yeah.
that's good.
I'm gonna leave that for some other time because we were proposing all that and we were met with, we don't want our streets in Woodbridge to look like Paris, if I quote it correctly.
Paris?
Paris, I was told.
Oh,
We were all told.
I don't think there's any danger.
GB, GBA, B1.
I don't either.
Those are the ones?
I don't either. So, I think that actually could fall in the category as if someone's coming in with a pretty nice project, then because to be honest with you, if someone's bringing in a nice project, they'll kind of want site furniture and some lighting and things like that. So,
But I do think it's important to get the sidewalk and the bicycle.
I agree.
So, under C for site plan objectives, C3 is traffic and pedestrian access. So should it And as I'm reading that, it doesn't quite make sense.
Well, that's access.
Right, but it says
What-
all
what page are you
proposed
on?
but.
Well, 108 on the revised. It's not 108 in that one, Jeff.
But is that where we should,
Well, I have
All
section,
proposed traffic and pedestrian access ways do not create traffic hazards and are adequate in width, grade, alignment, and visibility, adequate in distance from street corners, places of public assembly, and other access ways, and adequate in design for other similar safety considerations. Maybe at the beginning of that, we put, well, do we define sidewalk in our definition? Do we have to? Is that something so obvious we need to define it?
I mean, you've mentioned it other places, so.
We
I think it's probably
don't
not
define it. Do we
No.
need to?
I thought there
I
was
mean,
some
we could
place
say
in
it's
here
gotta
where we
be yellow
talk about
bricks.
width of sidewalk.
Not unless you're coming up with something very specific.
So we don't need to
Requirement.
define it, it's so obvious. Okay, so if we, traffic and pedestrian access, to your point, Chris, C3 in that section,
Well, you can put in traffic, pedestrian access, and sidewalks.
well, might want to throw in a width, so.
but what we've just talked about is mandating that sidewalks are installed in
Included.
certain areas. So that, to me, suggests after public safety, maybe we put sidewalks as a
its own-
separate
As its
section.
own number.
As its own number, and we define sidewalks can provide pedestrian access, they're to be required in these districts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There is a very ancient town of Woodbridge sidewalk, highway and sidewalk standard, which, in my opinion, needs to be upgraded. It's not my task and authority to do so. However, it exists.
What did they have it for?
It's in the road stuff,
Wait a minute.
under Public Works.
Right. And there, by the way, is where we should probably, in the perfect world, we would reference to an updated document. You know, and that updated document would include the 2010 ADA
Right.
obligations, which this one, I'm not sure has ADA.
No,
at
but I
all.
mean, but I don't even think you can put a sidewalk in unless it's ADA.
Well, I don't think the sidewalk people will do it, by the way.
You don't think they'll do what?
Put in a non-ADA.
Oh, right, well, that's, same thing.
Right, right. But
Well, that's a good thing.
that's a good thing, but I don't think we should rely upon the kindness of strangers. So if we're going to define a sidewalk, you know, we should probably reference in terms of its width, its, you know, its thickness, its spacing, do we, you know, do.
Sidewalk standards are set forth in 5.13.
Oh, well,
The
okay.
following provisions shall apply to any use in T1, T2, T3C, T3D, T3B, BI, GB, GBA, Dev 1, Dev 2, and P. Sidewalks shall be required on both sides of the street in BI, GB, GBA, and Dev 1
Okay, so
districts.
I feel a little bit better because
already
when
have
you were,
it.
well, because
The
when you were
minimum
saying
width
it,
of
I
the
went, how
sidewalk
can
shall
we
be
not have
5
had this in
feet.
here?
Sidewalks shall be required,
Because what else, what was the purpose of having the?
So we don't need to add anything.
There we
so
go.
it's in section 5.13.
Do you need to retract any of that? Because that was in more districts than we had planned.
Well, it does talk about sidewalks shall be required on at least one side of the street in T3C, T3D, T3BB, Dev 2, and P districts.
I thought we had it on both sides of the street.
No, it's on both
the other
sides in BI, GB, GBA, and Dev 1.
And where is it on one side?
It's in
The remaining districts.
section 5.13.
Yeah, I know, I'd like to tell you I have that, but.
Go find
What
it.
page is that in the October version?
I don't know.
I'm sure I do have it, I just,
Just on the bottom.
Page 9.
and it's that two sides of the street that I remember
What
the
page
discussion.
did she say?
What page, Chris?
In the one that I sent you out, it's on page 95.
Oh, sidewalk standards.
Yep.
I kind of remember going over
Sidewalk
this.
standards.
Says all
So-
sidewalks shall be constructed of concrete and be
Yeah.
consistent with best management practices.
So much for that stone dust.
And you can waive those requirements, provided that they
And
give.
according to Ellen, we don't need an A there. We do. So back to the other section where we were talking about site plan objectives.
Mhm.
Number C4, at the end of it, it's about circulation and parking. It talks about the installation of sidewalks at the end of that. And should we put there, refer to sidewalk standards, section 5, blah, blah, blah?
5.13.
5.13. All right. I found it hard to believe that Leslie wouldn't put that in there, but. This way we got to talk about it again. Sorry. It's okay. It's good. Okay, that was all I had.
You added in P districts for sidewalks, and I don't know that you, if you look at your
Why
map, do
would
you
we-
really?
I
want
didn't put P. I didn't put P in there.
Oh, but in here, in 5.3,
Oh.
it says P.
Take it
It's
out.
the far right column in the table. Which section are you in?
My pages are all screwed up.
Because most of the P is like the Alice Newton Park, and it's.
Well, no one's gonna put sidewalks there unless the town wants to put sidewalks there, so.
Right, and,
Yes.
but, I mean, the only place you might put them
See the
is
section
the
zoning
P that's
permit?
down in the middle of, or at the end of that P.
The
But
ball
every
field.
other P doesn't make any
Where?
sense.
None
The
of
ball
these have a
field.
heading,
And that's gonna, that would
except,
change the
and then
ball field
here, it's like,
dynamics.
so it
I
goes
wouldn't
on
put
to different
anything down.
sections.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then
So do you
the
want
heading is
on
G's with
5.3,
So I just make
1.3, delete the P?
That's fine.
We just leave it.
I get, I lost 5.3,
I
so.
don't wanna have it be,
5.3 what?
Exactly.
5.13, under the sidewalk standards.
Yeah, I know. I know this is.
I mean, some would put validity.
Well, I'm not finding it here, but yes.
Okay. And it just doesn't,
I had it 2 seconds ago.
thank you for the map, it's very helpful.
Damn. So, from now on, any changes, that they're holding our map. So anytime we need one or we need to change it, we need to tell them to do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a change in the reg, not the map,
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I'm just talking about the map.
yeah.
Since before I could never get one. Or one that had everything. I still can't find the names. I can't find the sidewalk thing.
So that column P in the table 3.1 should be deleted?
Wait a minute.
No, but we have a P.
No, I'm just talking about in 5.13,
Oh,
it talks about in parks that you require, in the park districts that you require sidewalks on one side of the street, and it just doesn't make any sense.
No. I don't.
okay.
No one's gonna do it anyway.
Chris, did you go through and confirm that the reference in table 3.1 does indeed refer to the correct section in the regs?
Where are we?
Table 3.1 is allowed uses by zone.
Oh, I was changing all that stuff, yeah. That should be correct.
So you confirmed all this, okay, just making sure.
I mean, I'll do it again, but as I was going through, I
just
did
found,
did check that.
Okay, I found it, Chris.
Okay, cool.
Okay. 5 feet seems like a wide sidewalk, doesn't it?
On some lots, it's very wide.
Well, that's where the commission may at its discretion comes in. I mean, seriously, it's,
Says they can waive it. Make it 3.5, 4 feet. Make it 10 feet.
call a road. All right, anybody else have anything else?
No, not at the time.
Okay, so hopefully we can,
So I'll email everybody and we'll check dates.
and you'll, and everything will be ready for us to go?
Could you send
All our
out,
changes and everything?
I would like to get, I don't know about anybody else, a complete copy with all accepted, all changes accepted.
We're not there yet.
Yeah,
We still have to finish 3, 4, and 5.
right.
I thought we finished those.
No,
I sent out the track changes, but you haven't double checked them.
Okay.
right. But
Well,
3 still needs,
yeah,
3
3
still
you
has
need to
10
go-
pages left, and 4 and 5 still haven't been done. I mean, I'm looking at 5 now and seeing errors.
Yeah, so I've read those, but,
So content's fine, I just need to work on formatting.
Well, that's why I want to get the whole thing, check, accept the changes, and then it's easier for me to go through it.
Yeah, but you go through it and mark it up on
Yes.
stuff like that.
Hell, a lot easier for me to do it that way.
I know, but there'll be fewer changes
Okay,
if you let me do it first.
that's fine.
I'm not gonna be able to do much this week.
so, but will we be able to have it by the 22nd?
It's gotta be before that.
Right.
Are you trying to vote on the 22nd, Joe? So to that end, is it possible to get it all put together? Which is what he's asking, right, okay.
Yes, it will all be put
Will be
together
okay.
that night, definitely.
It'll be before then.
We're gonna try that.
I understand, I know it's a lot. of work.
But having said that, we have a lot of copies of everything that you should be looking at.
Yes,
I mean, to be honest with you, mainly what you should be looking at is content.
yeah,
So,
right. But we want it to look good too, I mean, just have it.
no, I agree, but I'm just saying, don't hold up,
Once the vote happens, you can't change it, is that correct?
no, that's not true, you can change it as much as you want.
So you would
You
accept it.
proofed the introductory page, I believe, and
I did, yeah.
talked about that specifically.
Okay.
Yes, it can be changed. And it
But
doesn't,
it doesn't require a vote to change.
Yes.
well, it requires a
That's what
vote.
I meant.
If you adopt
That's what I
it, you can always amend it. But
Right.
once you've adopted it,
Then you have to-
that's what you've adopted.
But,
Yeah.
but,
Until the next time
but
you
if
change
it's if it's like a grammar thing or it's a scribe
That's
thing,
my point.
that
So if
does
it's
not.
section 5 or
Right.
section.
I mean, obviously, the commission would be part of that discussion, but it wouldn't be. You don't have to start having public hearings over that stuff.
Yeah, I understand. That's
If you
that's
find
where-
your numbering is wrong.
Right, okay.
Typo. You specifically missed something.
So, when there were percentages, you didn't always put the number
I've gone back and started putting the numbers back.
for any time there's a number. Cause I ignored that when I was doing one too.
Sometimes
Okay.
yes and sometimes
Okay.
no. It becomes a question of
Is there
how
anything else?
consistent
Was
you
Grok
are.
Minutes.
update?
When do you do it for numbers like that?
There's no meeting.
No, there was a meeting. No
Right.
meeting.
There's no meeting this Thursday, no referrals. If you want a summary
I
of
started
the
going
past
back and
3 meetings, I can
putting
give
in
it to you.
numbers. What
you wanna
happens
talk
when
about?
it's 10,000?
No.
Okay.
Well, you wrote them
So you're
all
not
down,
ready.
so I added them.
I am ready, I brought it with me.
If you wanna
Be careful what you
consistent,
ask for.
Many times I've
Let's
do
go.
that, and you don't
All right.
have anything.
Okay.
At the meeting on Thursday, February 14th, there were 4 action items. A proposed zoning regulation amendment by the town of Orange to increase the maximum square foot gross floor area for convenience marts submitted by a private applicant. By the City of Milford, a proposed zoning regulation amendment with respect to structures or accessory buildings in residential districts, submitted by the City of Milford. By the City of Meriden, proposed zoning regulation amendment with respect to the definitions of the sale of alcoholic liquor, submitted by the City of Meriden. By the City of Derby, proposed zoning regulation amendment pertaining to electronic signs in shopping centers, submitted by a private applicant. All of which were found by staff to not have an intermunicipal impact nor an adverse effect upon the Long Island Sound, and so that no action was taken other than to report that. On Thursday, April 11th, there were another 4 action items. City of West Haven, proposed zoning regulation to add a recycling processing facility, submitted by a private applicant. Town of Cheshire, proposed zoning regulation amendment with respect to Section 44A, affordable housing development, submitted by the Town of Cheshire. Town of Branford, proposed zoning regulation amendment to add farm event venue and use and the applicable standards, submitted by a private applicant. And the Town of Durham, proposed zoning regulation amendments pertaining to commercial kennels, submitted by the Town of Durham. Again, none of which had intermunicipal impact nor adverse effect upon the Long Island Sound. If anybody would like to review the materials with respect to any of those proposed zoning amendments, I have them, and I can email them to you.
Good.
That's the completion of my report. Thank you for the opportunity.
I just want to add one thing which I forgot. In talking to Malone and McBroom, they do a lot of planning that we just did and zoning regulation changes, and they were talking about that a mixed use in towns, which by the way is happening in Oxford, Seymour, every place but Woodbridge. That mixed use brings approximately $7 a square foot of income to the town. And a residence cost the town 30 cents a square foot. This is what we're up against. That's why people put in mixed use. It's a lot of money. Interesting tree.
Where did that come from?
Malone and McBroom. Their plans. Well, maybe the next commission can think about that. Alrighty, is there a motion to?
Move to adjourn.
They do the minutes.
Oh, all those minutes.
Lots of
I went
minutes.
through all the minutes except November. And I printed them out, so if you have a chance to look at
Yes,
them,
I did.
Yeah.
I would just say per Kathleen.
I like that.
Except for the November 5th.
Wait
Is
until you
there a
find the little
motion?
notes I inserted.
What'd you say?
I said, wait until you find the little notes I inserted.
I'm gonna guess, yeah. I just wanna find a typo.
That's it.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes up till November, up to including December 3rd, not including November 5th?
Yeah,
Move to accept.
second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
I abstain.
What about April 1st and
Oh,
April?
we've each abstained for the ones that we weren't here at. How's that?
She did everything except November.
What exactly did you do to them?
I just made a few corrections. I corrected Jonathan's spelling. I changed, like, some were special meetings and it said regular meeting at the top, so I changed it to special. One, the date was completely wrong. There weren't a lot to change, but I think they're a little more accurate.
Cool.
Something that you guys should know about, the finance director has drafted a job description, or not a job description, an ad for a land use recording clerk. We are unable to obtain the services of the long-standing one that who became ill. Christine has been filling in for her, and we hope to run this ad soon, and so we don't want you to be surprised at seeing the ad. It's a budgeted item, part-time.
In our budget?
Everybody's budget.
All three
All
commissions.
landers
Oh.
have a budget for it.
Right.
What was it under?
Recording clerk.
Oh, it says recording clerk?
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Now you can adjourn.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.